There was a school pool that was supposed to pick them up, but for some reason I wanted Luke to do it. I was getting worried even about the school pool. No children walked to school anymore. There had been too many disappearances. When I got to the corner, the usual woman wasn't there. Instead, there was a man, a young man. He couldn't have been more than 20. She's sick, I said as I handed him my card. Who? He said aggressively, I thought. The woman who's usually here, I said. How would I know, he said. He was punching my number in, studying each number, punching with one finger. He obviously hadn't done it before. I drummed my fingers on the counter, impatient for a cigarette, wondering if anyone had ever told him something could be done about those pimples on his neck. I remember quite clearly what he looked like. Tall, slightly stooped, dark hair, cut short, brown eyes that seemed to focus 2 inches behind the bridge of my nose, and that acne. I suppose I remember him so clearly because of what he said next. Sorry, he said, this number's not valid. That's ridiculous, I said. It must be. I've got thousands in my account. I just got the statement 2 days ago. Try it again. It's not valid, he repeated obstinately. See that red light? Means it's not valid. You must have made a mistake, I said. Try it again. He shrugged and gave me a fed-up smile, but he did try the number again. This time I watched his fingers on each number and checked the numbers that came up in the window. It was my number, all right, but there was the red light again. See, he said again, still with that smile as if he knew some private joke he wasn't going to tell me. I'll phone them from the office, I said. The system had fouled up before, but a few phone calls usually straightened it out. Still, I was angry, as if I had been unjustly accused of something I didn't even know about, as if I'd made the mistake myself. You do that, he said indifferently. I left the cigarettes on the counter since I hadn't paid for them. I figured I could borrow some at work. I did phone from the office, but all I got was a recording. The lines were overloaded, the recording said, "Could I please phone back?" The line stayed overloaded all morning, as far as I could tell. I phoned back several times, but no luck. Even that wasn't unusual. About 2 o'clock after lunch, the director came into the disking room. I have something to tell you, he said. He looked terrible. His hair was untidy, his eyes were pink and wobbling as though he'd been drinking. We all looked up, turned off our machines. There must have been 8 or 10 of us in the room. I'm sorry, he said. But it's the law. I'm really sorry. For what? Somebody asked. I have to let you go, he said. It's the law. I have to. I have to let you all go. He said this almost gently, as if we were all wild animals. Frogs he'd caught in a jar, as if he were being humane. We're being fired, I said. I stood up. But why? Not fired, he said. Let go. You can't work here anymore. It's the law. He ran his hands through his hair, and I thought, he's gone crazy. The strain's been too much for him, and he's blown his wiring. You just can't do that, said the woman who sat next to me. This sounded false, improbable, like something you would say on television. It isn't me, he said. You don't understand. Please go now. His voice was rising. I don't want any trouble. If there's trouble, the books might be lost. Things will get broken. He looked over his shoulder. They're outside, he said, in my office. If you don't go now, they'll come in themselves. They gave me 10 minutes. By now he sounded crazier than ever. He's loopy, someone said out loud, which we must all have thought. But I could see into the corridor, and there were 2 men standing there in uniforms with machine guns. This was too theatrical to be true. Yet, there they were, sudden apparitions like Martians. There was a dreamlike quality to them. They were too vivid, too at odds with their surroundings. Just leave the machines, he said, while we were getting our things together, filing out, as if we could have taken them. We stood in a cluster on the steps outside the library. We didn't know what to do or say to one another. Since none of us understood what had happened, there was nothing much we could say. We looked at one another's faces and saw dismay and a certain shame, as if we'd been caught doing something we shouldn't. It's outrageous, one woman said, but without belief. What was it about this that made us feel we deserved it? When I got back to the house, nobody was there. Luke was still at work. My daughter was at school. I felt tired, bone tired. But when I sat down, I got up again. I couldn't seem to sit still. I wandered through the house from room to room. I remember touching things, not even that consciously, just placing my fingers on them. Things like the toaster, the sugar bowl, the ashtray in the living room. After a while, I picked up the cat and carried her around with me. I wanted Luke to come home, I thought. I thought I should do something, take steps. But I didn't know what steps I could take. I tried phoning the bank again, but I only got the same recording. I poured myself a glass of milk. I told myself I was too jittery for another coffee, and went into the living room and sat down on the sofa and put the glass of milk on the coffee table carefully without drinking any of it. I held the cat up against my chest so I could feel her purring against my throat. After a while, I called my mother at her apartment, but there was no answer. She'd settled down more by then. She'd stopped moving every few years. She lived across the river in Boston. I waited a while and I phoned Moira. She wasn't there either, but when I tried half an hour later, she was. In between these phone calls, I just sat on the sofa. What I thought about was my daughter's school lunches. I thought maybe I'd been giving her too many peanut butter sandwiches. I've been fired, I told Moira when I got her on the phone. She said she would come over. At that time, she was working for Women's Collective, the publishing division. They put out books on birth control and rape and things like that, though there wasn't as much demand for those things as there used to be. I'll come over, she said. She must have been able to tell from my voice that this was what I wanted. She got there after some time. So, she said. She threw off her jacket, sprawled into the oversized chair. Tell me. First, we'll have a drink. She got up and went to the kitchen and poured us a couple of scotches and came back and sat down, and I tried to tell her what had happened to me. When I finished, she said, "Try to get anything on your CompuCard today?" Yes, I said. I told her about that too. They've frozen them, she said. Mine too. The collectives too. Any account with an F on it instead of an M. All they needed to do was push a few buttons. We're cut off. But I've got over $2,000 in the bank, I said, as if my own account was the only one that mattered. Women can't hold property anymore, she said. It's a new law. Turn on the TV today? No, I said. It's on there, she said. All over the place. She was not stunned the way I was. In some strange way, she was gleeful, as if this was what she had been expecting for some time, and now she'd been proven right. She even looked more energetic, more determined. Luke can use your Compu account for you, she said. They'll transfer your number to him, or that's what they say. Husband or male next of kin. But what about you, I said. She didn't have anyone. I'll go underground, she said. Some of the gays can take over our numbers and buy us things we need. But why, I said. Why did they? Ours is not to reason why, said Moira. They had to do it that way, the Compu accounts and the jobs both at once. Can you picture the airports otherwise? They don't want us going anywhere. You can bet on that. I went to pick my daughter up from school. I drove with exaggerated care. By the time Luke got home, I was sitting at the kitchen table. She was drawing with felt pens at her own little table in the corner where her paintings were taped up next to the refrigerator. Luke knelt beside me and put his arms around me. I heard, he said on the radio driving home. Don't worry, I'm sure it's temporary. Did they say why, I said? He didn't answer that. We'll get through this, he said, hugging me. You don't know what it's like, I said. I feel as if somebody cut off my feet. I wasn't crying. Also, I couldn't put my arms around him. It's only a job, he said, trying to soothe me. I guess you get all my money, I said. I'm not even dead. I was trying for a joke, but it came out sounding macabre. She said. He was still kneeling on the floor. You know I'll always take care of you. I thought, already he's starting to patronize me. Then I thought, already you're starting to get paranoid. I know, I said. I love you. Later, after she was in bed and we were having supper and I wasn't feeling so shaky, I told him about the afternoon. I described the director coming in, blurting out his announcement. It would have been funny if it wasn't so awful, I said. I thought he was drunk. Maybe he was. The army was there and everything. Then I remembered something I'd seen and hadn't noticed at the time. It wasn't the army. It was some other army. There were marches, of course, a lot of women and some men, but they were smaller than you might have thought. I guess people were scared, and when it was known that the police or the army or whoever they were would open fire almost as soon as any of the marches even started, the marches stopped. A few things were blown up, post offices, subway stations, but you couldn't even be sure who was doing it. It could have been the army to justify the computer searches and the others, the door-to-doors. I didn't go on any of the marches. Luke said it would be futile, and I had to think about them, my family, him and her. I did think about my family. I started doing more housework, more baking. I tried not to cry at mealtimes. By the time I started to cry without warning and to sit beside the bedroom window staring out. I didn't know many of the neighbors, and when we met outside on the street, we were careful to exchange nothing more than ordinary greetings. Nobody wanted to be reported for disloyalty.